This is on-nomi, a great new idea out of Japan. Online drinks with your friends when you can't be with them in person. Cheers.
Hello everyone, I'm back again for another on-nomi online drink. This time I'm sat in Christchurch in Dorset. I'm in the same time zone as this bloke this time. It's Mark Threlfall, who some of you will know from GTN, one of the presenters of the Global Triathlon Network. Hi Mark, how you doing? You got a drink on the go, I see?
Yeah, I have. I've got a German beverage actually. So yeah,
very nice.
Getting cultural, yeah. No, thanks for having me.
No, it's good to chat, mate. So where to start with you? Because you're a bloke who's done a lot of interesting things. But I sort of knew you a little bit a few years ago when I was leaving Bath because I'd studied there and sort of lived there a little while training as a triathlete. And you were coming through as a pro triathlete then. How did you first get into the game of triathlon, and what led you to Bath?
So yeah, I've always grown up around Bath, and I was a swimmer originally, and then I won't bore you with the gory details, but I got glandular fever as a swimmer, and yeah, just as I tried to get back into swimming, just wasn't loving it. Swimming a lot slower, that's never good. So I was just like, I need to do something else. And someone suggested triathlon, and I'd always, at school, you're always told to do cross country. So it just happened really naturally. And then there was the squad that you were part of, sort of training alongside. And I'll be honest, I used to watch these triathletes swimming up and down. And I thought, God, I'd never want to be one of those, like thrashing around, making a mess. They'd nick our kickboards and our pool boys. I was like, oh, I hate these people.
and then you became one of us.
I became one, yeah. But yeah, I remember my first session actually. It was with Simon Lessing and a couple of others, and I had no idea who Simon Lessing was. And I was just like, I'm coming from a swimming background, like, of course I'm going to beat this guy in the water. So I literally just killed myself to beat him. And I think we had a bit of a duel. So it's like this 16-year-old boy like trying to rep with Simon Lessing, and obviously now I know who the guy is, and he's an absolute legend. But yeah, and yeah, it's weird actually because I've known of Andy Blow for years, and I didn't actually meet you for quite some time after. So I knew Elliot, obviously a good friend of yours, and so trained with him a bit, and then our paths crossed a lot later on. But yeah.
And you went on and had some pretty decent results as a pro athlete. Once you got into those ranks, what were your highlights when you were racing?
I mean, basically, I took a year out between my A levels and university because I'd literally just got into triathlon and I was kind of enjoying it. And I also screwed up my AS levels, so I ended up working overtime on my A levels. I was like, I'm not ready for uni. So I took a year out. I was training under Chris Foley at the time, and we had a really good setup. And so that first year I had some really good results, and it sort of consolidated this idea of being a triathlete for me. So my first big result was European Duathlon, and I got a silver medal. And I was just like, I've come from swimming and I've just got a result in a sport that's got nothing to do with swimming. So I was like, all right, this is good. And then I went to like European Tri Champs and everything, so sort of like racing with Alistair and Johnny Brownlee and having these duels with them. So that was really cool, and they just rocketed and I didn't quite so much. But so I had like some good results as an ITU athlete, but I just got to a point where I was like, I'm not good enough for this anymore. I'm not going to make the Olympic Games. And I was at university when all these other guys were training full time, trying to go to the Olympics. So I just didn't, partly physical, but also just didn't have the time for that amount of training. So I switched to long distance, and had some good results there. I just enjoyed that flexibility then, like going from when I was doing the ITU racing, you were kind of dictated by British Triathlon to a degree, which races you do to get the points for World Cups, etc., etc. Whereas this was like, I want to go to South Africa. I want to see what it's about, and I'm going to do a race whilst I'm there and see the sights in my own time. So that was a real big attraction, and I just loved it. And I think that sort of showed in some of my results because I was just having a great time.
Yeah, because you did pretty well over some of the 70.3 distances. Was that your sweet spot, do you think?
Yeah, it's funny. Like, if I stayed in the sport, I would have stepped it up. But 70.3, I like hurting myself and like going hard. So the idea of stepping up to Ironman and stepping away from that speed to a degree, I just didn't really like the idea of it for quite a long time. I think now, like, definitely, obviously, I would have been super keen to. I had this weird mentality that I wanted to do fast things, and 70.3, yeah, like you say, was sort of that sweet spot for me.
Yeah, very good. And a lot of people now will know you probably as much, if not more, for being one of the presenters on Global Triathlon Network, which has, been growing and growing over the last few years, and you've got lots of great co-presenters and stuff like that now. And you seem to have made a pretty, from the outside at least, a pretty seamless transition from like pro triathlete into this, a kind of internet presenter, broadcaster, doing a cracking job with all of that. How did that?
I thought you were about to say sensation there. I was waiting for it. Sorry.
You are you definitely heading towards sensation.
I'm not.
Yeah, I know. I think from the outside, because we've chatted a little bit about this before, but the transition from sort of wannabe pro athlete or actual pro athlete into, all right, what you're going to do with the rest of your life is an interesting period, and you've made a really smooth leap there. Is that all the product of like impeccably good planning, or is that fortune, or a bit of both?
I don't know where to start here. It's a big topic, really. I mean, starting with the whole planning side of things, like I've always been one that I have got a plan. So I remember I had a talk years ago from Sir Steven Redgrave, actually, the rower, and I remember him saying, and it really stuck with me. I literally don't remember anything else he said from it, but this one thing was just like, make sure you've got a plan. Like, don't give up on your study. Make sure you go to uni or whatever you want to do, apprenticeships, whatever. But like, make sure you've got a backup plan, because once you get to 30, 35, 40, you are going to be retiring. So what are you going to do after that? If you haven't made your millions from sport, which, let's be honest, you're not really going to do from triathlon, then you need to have a backup plan. So I always made sure that, I worked hard. I did industrial design at uni. So I always kept a bit of design work going when I first started racing, just to keep the kind of like toe in the water. And then I set up a coaching business. And that again was just like, to be honest, it just happened. I was just always trying to do things like website design. I had all sorts of things going just to kind of keep my toe in the water with stuff. And and then to be honest, the presenting thing came totally out of the blue. So that was a bit of potluck, really. I was just in the right place at the right time. I'd moved back to Bath, and the company, Play Sports Network that run GCN and GTN, are based in Bath. So they just approached me, and I'll be totally honest, it was not, I never saw myself as a presenter. I've always been quite quiet, really. Like I'm quite an introvert. So the idea of being in front of a camera and posting a load of stuff over social media just wasn't me. And I still struggle with it, if I'm going to be honest, but I do enjoy it. I really enjoy that, like, passing on of knowledge and experiences. So that's been fun. And the whole transition though wasn't easy.
What specifically made it difficult? Because I understand what you're saying there in many ways, because when you're an athlete, you have, and again, this is something we talked about before, you have an identity of you, Mark the athlete, or Andy the athlete, and then you're sort of still in that world of circulating with the same people, but now maybe more people see as Mark the presenter. Is that part of it? What your role is?
100%. And it's a really hard thing to explain. And I mean, like you say, I was Mark the triathlete, and then suddenly overnight I'm not. And it's weird what that does to you, and trying to get your head around that. And suddenly you're going to a job and working 9 till 5. Don't get me wrong, there was a lot of great things about that as well. Like, for me and my partner, she's always been incredibly supportive. But being an athlete is a very self-involved and very selfish sport and thing to do. And it was nice suddenly having the weekends to just go, hey, what should we go and do? That was incredible, rather than just being like, oh, I've got to go out for 4 or 5 hours on the bike and then I've got to run off, and then I'm probably going to be knackered and not want to do much after that. So that was really nice. But yeah, it was odd sort of trying to transition and get my head around the idea that, I don't know, and also there's this, I sort of embraced it to a degree for about a year and really enjoyed that. And then suddenly I realised how unfit I'd got, and I didn't like it. Like, I really didn't like it. And that was a big shock. Like, for the first time in my life, I'm actually really unfit. And I can, even look at myself in the mirror, I don't look like the same person. And that was hard getting my head around that. So yeah, I would say I had some ups and downs definitely in the first year or two.
Yeah, where you recalibrated everything. So you've obviously got yourself fit again, because through GTN we've seen you doing like swim run races, and I think was it last year or the year before you did the Norseman triathlon? Yeah,
last year. I've got to say, and I feel really bad saying this, but I've got an incredible knack of winging it. I don't know you know what I'm on about here, but we've got years of training in the bank, and I feel really bad saying it because I know a lot of people can't do this, but I do have years of training in the bank, so I can go out and do an Ironman probably tomorrow, having not trained for it. Doesn't mean it'll be pretty, and it wasn't in Norseman. It really wasn't pretty, but I did do it, and I had a great time doing it. It was an amazing experience. Not like, I'll be honest, I did train for Norseman, don't get me wrong, but I just, compared to most people's training,
without the full intensity. I spoke to we worked with Alan Hovder, the guy who's won Norseman a number of times actually, and I asked him about the race the year you did it, and he didn't know that I know you, and he said something about, I said, talk me through the race, and he talked me about the swim, and he said, there was this guy, Threlfall, English guy, and I knew he had some background, and he came out the water, and he was, did you lead out the water? Were you certainly up there?
Yeah, I led out the water with like about 3 minute gap.
And he said, and Alan said, I was worried, and then I passed him on the bike, and then I never saw him all day.
To be fair, like it was a really fun race. Like, I had an incredible time, and the swim, I didn't mean to get a gap. I'm going to be totally honest. I think tactically they got it totally wrong. I swam on the start line. You've got like a big 50-meter start line. They all went over to the right in the shore, and I went literally the opposite end, and I was on my own. So I had the current ever so slightly with me. Not that there was masses, but there was. And I just, like, literally off the start line got a gap, and that was it. I was gone. And I just kept going. But my problem was I started getting really bad cramp. On the swim. And so I was really struggling on the bike. That's not an excuse for why they passed me, because they would have passed me anyway. But yeah, that really plagued me all day. And on the bike, I did make a conscious effort to, I mean, like I said, I hadn't trained enough for it. I need to just get through this thing. It was my first Ironman as well. So
it's a good fire, that
is. So I just took my time, and I just made sure I made a conscious effort to sit up and take the views in and enjoy it. So I do remember, like, as the guys came past, I could go with it. Like, I sat on, in the kind of the echelon, the line with them, and but I was like, what am I doing? Like, these guys are going for the win. I'm not here to go for the win today. So yeah, it was cool to, like, get involved for a moment, but I was quickly let go.
And as well as Norseman, you've done some other cool stuff, because I know I've seen you out at OTILLO, the Swimrun World Championships, which is another, like, mega race. And
well, you to be fair, I think it was you that inspired me to do it, because
I've been a pretty good big advocate for Swimrun. I do.
I think you did it. Was it 2012 or something? Was the first one, and then maybe 2014. I think. Around. It might have been. It might be 2012. No. It would be 2014. Yeah, 2014. I reckon.
Because I did it with Elliot. Yeah, because I've got this sort of, like, pet theory that for people transitioning out of long distance triathlon and whatever, swim run is like a good sort of it's like whatever it's like the methadone they give heroin addicts or something like that. You know, it enables you to wean yourself off because it's not as serious and it's a lot of fun. You race with a partner, so that as long as you choose your partner wisely, that makes it a lot more fun and takes the edge off the competitive element. But it also does help you to keep fit and stay energized and kind of doing stuff, because you do see that a lot with pro athletes that probably achieve a really high level, much higher level than you and I got to, is that quite often when they stop, they really stop. And that's it, because they've like achieved what they wanted to achieve. And I often find, I see those people and I think it's a little bit sad that they've not been able to just carry on doing something, because it's just good. It's just good for you, isn't it? Because like you say, most athletes retire. If they retire, it's going to be relatively young. And if you just stop, you lose a lot of those benefits. So these kind of Norseman, I know Norseman's quite extreme, but swim run and these kind of other fun things that we can do now are really good at keeping you engaged and keeping your hand in.
As you say that, I'm thinking of Jan Frodeno in like 20 years' time with a hot belly on him. No, I gotta say, is like the swim run was just like this perfect blend of an adventure and a hardcore day out, and also really grounding, because you've gone from winning races or being at the front of fields, and then suddenly you're at this race with people you've never heard of, and they're spanking you. Yeah. And like they're incredible athletes, pure swim runners, and they've trained for this thing. And I thought I could turn up in my classic fashion, wing it, with very little training under the belt, and I got absolutely spanked. But it was really cool to kind of do that, and just like it's a bit of a wake up call. Yeah.
And out of all these cool things, because you did that, and I think you covered it a little bit for GTN, didn't you? And what's the coolest thing that you've got to do through the GTN projects that you've done?
I mean, Norseman's probably there. That was pretty incredible. I mean, recently just did this 100k run with Sam.
So I was going to ask you about that, because Sam Pictor's an athlete that we know well at PH. He's been a big loyal supporter of PH over the years, and we've watched him, really progress as an athlete. So what's the backstory to you guys winning 100k?
To be honest, I know Sam's done the Bob Graham round before, and he's just a class runner. It's just very, if you watch him run, he just floats along. He's very natural. And actually, we used to have Strava battles with each other before we knew each other. So that's we get on really well. And I just sort of said to him, I think last year, I really fancy doing some ultra running. How do you fancy? It'd be great to do some with you, or just get your advice, do some training with you. Obviously, at the time, focusing on racing with them, but with the current situation with COVID, he just suddenly messaged me 2 months ago now. Should we do it? Should we do a 100k? I'm like, yeah, all right. When we're thinking, and he literally turned around and was like, 2 weeks. What? Like at that point, I've barely been running, and and I was like, well, should we just add a bit more time on? 3 weeks. It's like, so that was it. We just like 3 weeks later, we were doing a 100k run, but that was pretty cool. It was just like us setting off and just having fun, running, chatting, seeing some cool sights. I don't know. I'm trying to think if that was the best thing I've done, but it was just, I remember, like, more recently, it was a very cool experience.
Very memorable. How far into that did it start to get ugly for you then?
Probably, well, the worst was around 70k. It just, 70k, and it was just, I mean, I knew where I was then. Like, it was in sort of territory that I've kind of cycled round and stuff before. I'm like, this is a long way, this next 30k, and I was getting like really bad stomach cramps and stuff. But otherwise, I was all right. But it was just like, I don't know. I just
far enough in to be hurting, but too far away from the finish to be in the home straight. Yeah. How was Sam with it? Did he cope with it well?
He was similar, to be honest. I think he was okay for another 10 or so kilometers, but both of us last 15, 20k, we were very quiet. It was quite it's pretty grim as well, because you kind of go around you'll know it, but like up on the Cotswold Way as you come into Bath, it actually sort of like loops round a bit, and it doesn't take the direct path. And when you live there, you know the direct path into Bath. You're like, I just want to go that way.
Go home. Yeah. Is it the furthest you've run non-stop? That?
Oh yeah. No, like, I mean, my furthest run. Well, to be honest, I hadn't even done a marathon until a couple of years ago. And then, other than OTILLO, I guess, but you sort of 60k separated out by swims.
Broken up, yeah. Because I remember I can't remember whether I would have run 100k, and it probably wouldn't have been far off actually. But I once did years and years ago when I was training for Ironman for the first time. My coach at the time was a running coach called Paul Hart, and he suggested that I run along the Jurassic Coast from Lyme Regis all the way to Swanage. And we eventually turned it into an event called the Jurassic Coast Challenge. But the first year I did it, I pretty much did it on my own. And he sort of said to me, you should run to this place called the Smugglers Inn on the first day. He reckoned to do it over 2 days. He was like, run to there. And then that's just over halfway, but only just. And then do the second half, get a sleep there. And then do the next half the next day. And I remember that I hadn't got a great plan, and I got to the Smugglers Inn, which is probably about 60k, and I thought, I feel great, this is good, I'm just going to crack on. And honestly, I got to about that sort of 70k mark, like 10k beyond there, and this is where between Osmington Mills and Lulworth Cove, the cliffs and the coast just goes like that. And I remember that ultimate pain and thinking, well, I'm never going to turn around and like go back 10k, and I had to carry on. And I ended up getting to Lulworth Cove, and I ended up just checking into a B&B, and that was me for the night. And then I got up, and actually I felt fantastic and ran really well, and cracked off the last 20-25 miles, whatever it was, the next day. But I do know what you mean about that kind of that distance. Is that threshold where you just and I had the option to bail at that point, so I just pulled the pin.
Weirdly, I felt fine the next day as well. I shuffled for the first hour, but I felt worse after a 5k or 10k hard run.
Effort,
It's bizarre. I didn't lose any toenails. I didn't have any blisters. I was really surprised. But.
Yeah, UTMB next then for you, probably.
Well, that was kind of the ultimate aim, but having done this and realised how hard it is, I'm not sure I want to go any further and more mountainous.
Yeah, it's a pretty big challenge. So, quick question about that then, and then I'm going to ask you about your next challenge. But what did you, just out of interest, what did you eat and drink when you did the 100k? Because I tell you what I did when I did it. I decided, after much deliberation, that I would basically do kind of a credit card tour version of it, where I travel as light as possible. And I just I took a bladder with some water, I think, and a few handful of gels, and then I thought the rest of it I'm just going to stop at cafes, petrol stations, whatever, and I was like Mars bars, bottles of Coke, that kind of stuff to get me through most of that day. What did you guys do for your 100k?
Well, I had a similar idea, sort of just take credit card and go, but obviously with the COVID and everything going on, a lot of shops weren't open, so we wanted to. We had a support. So fortunately, Sam's partner Claire kindly came along and supported. So we actually chucked a lot in the back of the car, and she just met like every 20k or so throughout. So that was really good. And to be honest, I did a similar thing. I found for Norseman Boost bars. Amazing. I love them, and like Mars bars. I tried the whole peanut butter and jam sandwich that everyone talks about. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't.
Find them a bit dry.
So dry. I just couldn't swallow the thing. It would take me like pretty much half an hour to eat this one sandwich. So I packed that one in quite quickly, but I packed a load of other stuff. Like crimbles and all these sort of like macaroon things, and I even packed like tins of custard and porridge. But yeah, I mean, we've spoken about before, but I'm a very, very heavy sweater, and I've got quite a high salt content. So one thing when I got cramped badly at Norseman, the thing that saved me was your precision hydration tabs. So I packed a load of those, and I was dropping the sachets into my bladder as well. So yeah, precision hydration has definitely got me through the last couple of big challenges. Yeah, I'm probably you probably tell me I'm totally overdoing it, but I was like literally dropping like 3 sachets into my bladder every like 20k. It's probably
I
too
think
much,
when
you
when you're really going for it like that, sometimes your body tells you what it needs. If it tastes good, get it down you.
Yeah, and it was a weirdly muggy day. We had quite low cloud to start off with. So even though we started off early and the sun wasn't out, it was really hot. So we actually sweat out a lot in the first few hours. And even though the sun came out later on, it cooled off to a degree. So it was actually, we both had to really be on it at the start and like keeping our hydration going.
Getting it in early, because otherwise you can fall off a cliff in those long things. And so next, you've got another long running type challenge coming up, because everyone during COVID, Everesting has become, what the cool kids are doing on the internet. And I've seen some amazing stories about that. We put one in one of our newsletters recently where Lachlan Morton, the guy from Education First, obviously went for the record, allegedly beat the record, found out that he'd come up with works out elevation, and then had to go out the next week and do it all over again and beat it again. So I think he did it on his bike in 7.5 hours, or sort of around that. It's pretty phenomenal, because it's 8,400 and something meters.
8,848 meters. Yeah,
that's it. 8,848 in a non-stop thing. And you're going to do this. You're going to try to do this running. Is that right?
Yeah. I think that's the key phrase there: try or attempt. So yeah, we to be honest, this has been an idea I've had for ages before this whole lockdown and this blow up of everyone doing Everesting. I pitched it to our company quite a while back, and at the time I was barely running, so I'm all or nothing basically with my training. And I held off on doing it, and then having done this 100k, it's just sort of like giving me this confidence, like, well, maybe we could do this. And Sam was keen again, foolishly. So we've next Friday basically is a plan for us to do this, but it's quite I'm quite nervous about it, because basically the rules state that in the Everesting run, you can run up and get an alternative means of transport back down, because obviously running downhill is quite damaging, and as you know, it's probably harder than running uphill in some instances. But actually the logistics of trying to get transport down every time is really complicated, and it's not like me and Sam can technically jump in the back of the car together at the moment with COVID and everything. So we've actually committed to running back down, so we'll be running more than 100k this time, all uphill and downhill. So it's arguably harder. But we've done a bit of research. So actually, the top guys who have the records have run up and run down themselves, but they use quite steep inclines. So you're talking like 20-25%, which we just can't find anything suitable around here to do that on, that we could film on as well. Obviously we're making this for GTN. So the one we're going for is Crocombe Hill, which is in the Quantocks, and it's quite a famous cycling climb. I don't really know it, but it's about 15%. So that's our plan. I've done some hill reps this morning on quite a steep hill here on my doorstep. And it's made me incredibly nervous realising I've got to do 50 reps of a 15% hill. But yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, blimey. So that's going to be tough. And if it goes well, what's the kind of time window you think you'll complete it within?
I think it'll be somewhere around the 14-15 hours. It's going to be a long day. Yeah, we're going to start.
It is.
The plan is I think we'll start at 5 a.m. Give ourselves as much daylight as we possibly can.
Yeah, and not have to risk going too late into the night, I guess, because that's when your body starts to shut down anyway.
And we're also have some angry film creators and videographers if we take too long.
Yeah, you got to keep them happy. Well, I think, mate, on the basis of doing that, we'll definitely send you a little package of pH or something to keep you going, because I think for 14 hours, it's the least we can do. I don't know what else we can do other than offer moral support.
Yeah, if you can send some cheerleaders and masses, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, well, and if you make it, and if the rules allow, then maybe one or two of us can come and bring a wheelchair to push you down to the pub afterwards for a celebratory pint, I'm sure. Good stuff, mate. Well, on that one, we can probably call it there, and I'll let you get back to your busy evening. But thanks very much for having a chat. Good to catch up. Really impressed with what you're doing. You can obviously find you on the interweb on GTN. And do you tweet and Instagram yourself, or is that all through GTN these days?
I do my own Instagram. I'll be honest, I'm terrible on Twitter. But you can find me at Mark Threlfall GTN, or even just head over to the GTN Instagram.
Awesome. And we genuinely, all of us at PH, we're all subscribers of GTN. We like to use it to keep up to date. I think it's a really good resource online. So genuinely, joking aside, thanks for all you're doing on there. We love it, and good luck with the Everesting. We'll check in for a report later.
Thanks, sir.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.